Trading Alex Verdugo was the right move for the Boston Red Sox. Find out why on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. Now, who doesn't love free? If you do, tune in, make it your first listen of every day. And what a day it's been. Over the last 48 hours, something absolutely big unfolded with the Boston Red Sox, and I am here to talk about that today. But first, I have to remind you that you can download the SiriusXM app and get the home broadcast of every Red Sox game straight to your phone, so you don't have to worry about missing a single pitch. And honestly, it's a good deal. Getting your fair share of Red Sox content to start off the day with Locked On Red Sox and then ending your day by listening to the game if you can't watch it live. So download the SiriusXM app today. Bye, Doogie. The Red Sox have traded Alex Verdugo to the New York Yankees for 3 pitching prospects. Now, I remember saying a handful of times on this show that Alex Verdugo should be the number 1 trade candidate for the Boston Red Sox this offseason. There were multiple reasons for me saying that, and it was ultimately the right move for Boston. For one, because they had a surplus of outfielders to begin with on the team. So if you exclude Verdugo, that's still Yoshida, Duran, Abreu, Rafaela, and even Repsnyder in there, who all will be competing for outfield spots in 2024. So by getting rid of Verdugo, it creates one more space to help them navigate through what was already a crowded outfield situation. Number 2, Alex Verdugo did have his off-field issues with Cora. He had to be benched a couple times, one being for showing up late to the field and another for his attitude that Cora didn't really disclose specifically what it was for. But Alex Cora, according to reports about the Red Sox, had been pretty clear in his desire to want to move Verdugo and not have him on the team anymore. So that's another reason why the Red Sox were kind of in a position where they had to move him, because he wasn't obviously on a good place with Cora. They weren't on the same page about a lot of different things. So you never really want that type of manager-player relationship. So that's certainly a reason why the Red Sox knew they wanted to move him. Another reason is Alex Verdugo is going to be a free agent after 2024. So who knows whether he would have re-signed with the Red Sox. The Red Sox likely wouldn't have wanted or needed to re-sign him. And then you're looking at a situation where you're just letting him walk. When you have a player who was the headline in the Mookie Betts trade, who comes over here and is now being traded after having an overall good career with Boston, you don't want to let him walk in free agency for nothing. So at least the Red Sox can look back on it and say that they got something for him and they were able to move him before he hit free agency. Because at the end of the day, do we wish the Mookie Betts trade hadn't happened? Obviously, I think anybody would love to see Mookie still in a Red Sox uniform, but we can't dwell on the past too much from that standpoint. But what we can say is it is a little disheartening that the main piece in the Mookie Betts trade is now no longer in Boston, and the Red Sox haven't seen a whole lot of success since that trade to begin with. And now they're moving the piece that was the center of that trade. So from that standpoint, it's a little upsetting, but it is a move that needed to be done, especially because his numbers in 2023 did see a decline in September and even in August. I mean, at the beginning of the season, he was hitting well. He was hitting over 300 for pretty much the majority of April, May, and into June. And then slowly his batting average started to decline. He was hitting 307 on June 27th, and then everything went downhill from there. Ultimately, he ended the season with a batting average of 264. His entire month of September, and really anything post All-Star break, was not the best. He wasn't getting the big hits when the Red Sox needed him to with runners on base. He would make contact, but a lot of it was light contact at the time. He had an on-base percentage at the end of the season of 324 and a slugging percentage of 421. These numbers decreasing, it's too late to draw a conclusion for sure as to whether Verdugo is washed up or not. But we can say that it's pretty apparent that he wasn't the same Alex Verdugo towards the end of the season that he was in his past years or even the beginning of this year in Boston. Now, that's not to say that that wasn't because of the environment. It very much could be a situation where he needed a change and the Red Sox needed to move on from him because that relationship just wasn't working anymore. And because of the off-field stuff, he was feeling like it was distracting him during his play, and he wasn't feeling like he was able to get as much out of his at-bats as the Red Sox would have wanted him to. So that definitely could have been a factor in that, but it also could have just been because he's past his prime, and the numbers we're seeing from the end of the season are more along the lines of what he's going to provide. There's not really a way to know for sure until he starts the season. Obviously, being traded to the Yankees is absolutely painful. It's going to be hard to see him in a Yankees uniform. Watching a former Red Sox player in a Yankees uniform in general is not fun. But I know how much Verdugo meant to a lot of the fans in Boston. So it's a tough pill for them to swallow because they didn't want to let go of him. But when you break down the numbers in the grand scheme of things, it did make sense to part ways with him. I'm rooting for his success, but not too much because he is with the Yankees. And it's going to be hard to see him go somewhere else. And if he does go off elsewhere, that's going to be even harder for Red Sox fans to accept. But for what the Red Sox are going for right now, it's something that needed to happen. I'm not at all surprised that it happened. I expected the Red Sox to move him, as I've also said on this show before. That relationship, ultimately, I think Cora just had his last straw and felt like Verdugo was no longer a fit in the Boston Red Sox organization. And if the Yankees have some attitude questions with him, then that's on them. And he probably is a one-year rental for them because he is going to be a free agent, and the Red Sox might not feel like they necessarily need him after 2024. So whatever happens with him happens. But as a Red Sox fan, I can say that overall, I'm proud of the career he had in Boston, and I wish nothing but the best for him on his next endeavor. The Red Sox moved Verdugo. What does that mean for the team going forward? Could it be potentially making a move for something bigger? Find out next. Do you love sports betting? Are you huge into it? Have you recently gotten into it? Or have you not gotten into it at all while you're thinking about it? Regardless of what your level of experience is with sports betting, FanDuel can help you be successful. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit fanduel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. FanDuel will give you the best opportunities possible and really help you to be able to win some good money. So download FanDuel today and just use that locked on code. Also, don't forget to download the SiriusXM app because you can get the home broadcast of every Red Sox game on there for free. So you don't have to worry about missing a single pitch. And if you're a Red Sox fan, you won't want to miss a pitch in 2024 because they will absolutely be a better team than they were in 2023. And this Verdugo move is only hopefully a preface to something bigger, so you won't want to miss it. So just download the SiriusXM app today and search Red Sox so you're all set up for the 2024 season. Speaking of the 2024 season, we are about to see a new look Red Sox for 2024. I think the Red Sox have brought in Craig Breslow because they are hoping he is willing to be aggressive and spend money and make the moves necessary for the Red Sox to have more success next season. At least I hope that's happening. Alex Verdugo is owed $9 million for the 2024 season, which is a contract year for him. He will be a free agent after this upcoming season. So the question then becomes, by sending Verdugo to the Yankees, what does this mean for the Red Sox moving forward? One thing it could mean is that they simply just didn't see him as the right fit anymore, but they want to stick with the outfield they have and just see how players like Duran, Yoshida, Abreu, Rafaela, even Rep Snyder, see how they all pan out and maybe not make a move for another outfielder. That would be a little bit disappointing to me because they do need a strong right-handed bat to help balance out the lineup. So by acquiring somebody who can play in the outfield that is a good right-handed bat, that would be an upgrade for Boston. As of right now, defensively, the Red Sox did take a hit by getting rid of Verdugo because statistically, he was the best defensive outfielder that the Red Sox had. So by moving him, do they feel like the guys they have are good enough defensively or can get there where they don't feel like they need to make a move? That's the question that I have. Do they want to look into potentially trading for an outfielder or trying to acquire somebody who is known to play good defense? One name that has popped up in particular is Lourdes Gurriel. He's a very talented outfielder. He played for the Blue Jays, so he's already familiar with the division and what it's like to play in the AL East. And he's talented at the plate. That could kind of solve a lot of those problems for the Red Sox. I would like that. I like the fit. I think he would provide a lot of value in multiple capacities. Whereas with the Red Sox right now, I really like the upside with Abreu and Rafaela. They both showed that they can be aggressive at the plate. Rafaela needs to work on his discipline a little bit, but I'm hoping that just comes with time and more exposure to being in the league. Abreu showed strong abilities both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. The problem I have with that is the Red Sox are relying too much almost on their new guys panning out. It's a risky game to play, hoping that all of these prospects are going to pan out when they come to the majors. Because at the end of the day, not everybody pans out. That's just how being a professional athlete works. Some guys are going to come up and go off and be very good for their whole career. Others might be good when they start and then fall off. Others might not start off well at all and then grow. And others might just not figure it out at all. And that's just the nature of the game. And the Red Sox do have a good string of young talent on the roster right now in those guys like Rafaela, Abreu. Maybe you could throw Valdez in there. And even Casas, who had a great rookie season and gave Gunnar Henderson a run for his money for Rookie of the Year. So you can argue that those players definitely have the talent level to be able to succeed. Sure, maybe they do, but what if they don't pan out? The Red Sox over the last few seasons have spent a lot of time focusing on prospects and prospect development, which I am in agreement with. You should be developing your prospects, or else what's the point of having them? But at some point, you also have to find that good balance of taking charge of the major league roster and getting the players on your major league roster that you feel are a good fit to put your team in contention. So Gurriel is one name that I think could send a message to Red Sox Nation that ownership in the front office are serious about competing in 2024. Another name being mentioned is Michael A. Taylor. He's also very good and somebody who the Red Sox supposedly are interested in and have checked in on. So there are talented names out there, and the Red Sox have the money to spend, so they should be taking advantage on spending that. That $9 million that Verdugo is owed next season, by clearing up that extra 9 mil, obviously that alone is not a lot of money. But in the grand scheme of things, it just adds the total amount of money the Red Sox can spend in the offseason. So by clearing that salary off the board, it gives the Red Sox about $55 million to spend this offseason and stay under the luxury tax, which I wouldn't be worrying about staying under the luxury tax if I'm the Boston Red Sox. They are in no position to be worrying about that right now. But say they only wanted to spend $55 million, that extra $9 million they have could be the difference between signing Yamamoto or not. I'm just saying, he is going to get a lot of money regardless of where he goes. And we don't know what happens behind the scenes. What if the Red Sox are in conversation with him and he's asking for a little bit more money than what they offered originally, and they now have an extra $9 million that they could tack on to whatever their original number was? And that might be the difference maker for getting him here. So that's another option and another route the Red Sox could take next. They could choose to keep the outfield as is, and then they would have no choice really but to acquire a couple heavy, strong starting pitchers that could be at the front of the rotation. And they don't really have a choice but to improve their pitching at this point. So if they do decide to use the money on pitching, then maybe they get a cheaper outfielder who is a pretty proven good defender. I just think that the Red Sox need to take a look at what they have going on right now in the outfield. How confident are they in their outfield defense? So at the end of the day, there's a few different routes the Red Sox could take to spend the money that they are not having to spend on Verdugo in 2024 in a trade move that made sense for them. I'm not surprised it was the Yankees because they've been interested in Verdugo for a while, even since the trade deadline of 2023. So I'm not overly shocked by it. Are we all going to miss Verdugo as a person? Yeah, sure. I mean, he loved playing in Boston and he wanted to be here all the way up until, his issues started happening with Cora. And we'll never really know the full story on that either. But it's a loss for sure, but sometimes you have to lose to gain. So this is a big opportunity for the Red Sox to open another door. And hopefully by moving Verdugo, that extra money that they're saving can help to sign a big player so they can make a big splash. Again, I'm not saying they're going to give somebody 9 million. I'm just saying that could be the extra piece that they tack on to make a player say, yes, I want to go to Boston or not. So there's different directions they can go with it, but hopefully, and I'd like to believe, they have something up their sleeve if they've now moved Verdugo and they're meeting with all these players at the winter meetings. Hopefully they make a move soon for an even bigger piece. What did the Red Sox really get back in the trade for Alex Verdugo? I'll tell you next. First, I have to talk about a really exciting announcement from Locked On. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. This is very exciting for Locked On because nobody else does this. Locked On is the only network to have a 24/7 sports streaming channel. So if you are ever missing out on big storylines, or you're at work or you're busy and you can't just be constantly scrolling through Twitter to see what's going on, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and we will have you covered so that at any time of day you can feel like you're caught up in anything going on in sports. So subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. And also don't forget to download the SiriusXM app, as you can get the home broadcast of every Red Sox game straight to your phone, so you don't have to miss a single pitch of Red Sox baseball. I know it bothers me personally when I miss a pitch, and I just don't like that. So if you're at all like that, you can absolutely take advantage of this service. So download the SiriusXM app for free and search Red Sox, and it'll have you ready to go when the 2024 season starts. Follow me on Twitter at GabbyHurlbut10 and on Instagram at Gabby_Hurlbut10. You can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox, and we can continue the discussions about all things going on with the Boston Red Sox. I love the Twitter interactions. Somebody did reach out to me on Twitter today to ask what I thought of the Alex Verdugo trade and what I think will happen with the Red Sox moving forward and what it means. And I'm glad I was able to bring you today's show and explain all of that, because it's important. It's important to understand where the Red Sox are coming from in that whole scene. And I hope it means room for something bigger. So we can continue the conversations on Twitter. Just follow me at GabbyHurlbut10 and the show at LO_Red Sox. So I talked about what all of this means for the Boston Red Sox, moving Alex Verdugo, what it could be foreshadowing for Boston moving forward. But what is the return that they got in this deal? Now, the Red Sox have been known to need pitching depth in their farm system. Chaim Bloom did a great job of rebuilding the Red Sox farm system over the last few years, but the Red Sox do need more pitching arms to go in that farm system, because that definitely is still something that lacks for them. So as a result of the Alex Verdugo trade, the Red Sox received 3 right-handed pitchers from the Yankees in return: Richard Fitts, Greg Weissert, and Nicholas Judice. So all 3 of these guys have some upside. It's too early to tell with 2 of them, but I want to just go over who they all are and why Red Sox fans could be excited about them. The Red Sox finished in last place in their division in 2023. We're hoping that it's better in 2024, but who knows? They have to make the right moves first in order for me to feel confident that that will happen. But basically, the first one, Richard Fitts, he was a 6th round pick by the Yankees out of Auburn in 2021, and he absolutely thrived in 2 minor league seasons. In Double-A in 2023, he struck out 163 batters and only walked 43 over 152 and 2/3 innings, while allowing 22 home runs. He has a high carry fastball that sits around 93 miles an hour and reaches 97, plus a sweeper that he uses a lot, and he also has a cutter and changeup on his resume. He could be a good back of the rotation starter down the road for a team with limited minor league starting pitching depth. This is good because he strikeouts a lot less hitters than he does walk hitters, and that fastball is pretty freaking fast. So he's somebody who the Red Sox probably want to just see how he does in the minors, and then he could have a chance to come up to the major league roster at some point. Greg Weissert, he's 28 years old. He debuted with the Yankees in 2022 and has gone 3-0 with a 460 earned run average in 31 and a third big league innings after absolutely dominating in AAA with a 216 earned run average and 168 strikeouts in 125 innings. He was an 18th round pick in 2016, and he's expected to join a Red Sox bullpen that got standout performances from Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin, and Josh Winkowski in 2023, but significantly lacked depth. So they expect Weissert to join the bullpen likely right away because he has the major league exposure more so than these other two guys. So he's the one who would probably make the most immediate impact on the team, but there's still a lot of upside to these other two pitchers that they acquired. Now, the third one is Nicholas Judice. He's 22 years old, 6'8", 230-pound right-handed pitcher taken by the Yankees in the 8th round of the 2023 draft out of Louisiana Monroe. He didn't pitch after being drafted, but posted a 374 earned run average with 66 strikeouts and 15 walks in 53 innings during his senior season. 15 walks, sorry. While he spent most of his time in college as a reliever, he mainly throws a fastball and slider, and he did start in all 3 of his appearances in the Cape Cod League before the draft. So there's no way to know how he'll pan out. He hasn't had any experience yet past college, which makes me a little bit nervous, but he's somebody who the Red Sox maybe could have found something in. And Craig Breslow is a pitching guy. We just have to remember that. That's why it's hard for me to not trust the process and trust what the Red Sox are doing, because Craig Breslow has a pitching mind. So a lot of the moves he makes likely will be for pitching, and that's the team's biggest need. So I'm hoping if the Red Sox have identified players who they feel like have a lot of upside, that is in fact true. So I'm hoping that these new guys pan out for Boston. And from the standpoint of needing pitching depth, it's a good move for Boston to have acquired them. Part of the winter meetings was the Rule 5 draft that took place on Wednesday. The Red Sox welcomed 2 players to the organization, but also lost several minor leaguers. The biggest thing to be of note is that the Chicago White Sox selected AAA left-hander Shane Drohan with the 4th overall pick. Now, around the time of the Rule 5 draft deadline, the Red Sox were actually expected to protect him alongside Luis Perales and Wilkelman Gonzalez, and they just ultimately did not do that. The Rule 5 draft means if a player goes unprotected, another team can pick them. And Drohan dominated in AA Portland with a 138 earned run average, which earned him a spot in the Futures game last season. He ended up not playing in it due to an injury, but he then got promoted to AAA and struggled there. He finished his time with the Red Sox as his number 19 prospect, and the Red Sox knew they were taking a risk by not protecting him, but ultimately he went to the White Sox. And then 2 picks later, with the 6th overall pick, the Cardinals chose AAA right-hander Ryan Fernandez. This is somebody that I was expected to, see at some point in the majors with the Red Sox, and I was excited about it. He has dealt with some injuries during his career, but he still went from low A Salem at the beginning of last season all the way up to AAA Worcester by the end of the season. In that time, he had a 414 earned run average in 54.1 innings while showing promising stuff. So he's another one who I think has some upside. I was excited to eventually see him at the major league level, but he went to the Cardinals. The Red Sox chose to not protect him, so this is what we get. The Red Sox ended up not selecting anybody with their pick in the major league portion of the Rule 5 draft, but once it ended, they actually did execute a trade with the New York Mets for AAA right-hander Justin Slayton, who was selected with the 8th pick from the Texas Rangers, and then went to the Mets. And then the Mets made this trade with Boston. The Red Sox sent right-hander Ryan Ammons, who was their 10th round pick this year, and cash considerations to the Mets too. Slayton pitched as a reliever in both AA and AAA during last season and averaged a 287 earned run average across both leagues. He'll be on the 40-man roster and can't be sent down to the minors due to the Rule 5 draft rules. So the Red Sox will have to have him on their roster. So I'm interested in seeing what he can provide. Yet another pitching depth move for Boston. It's clear they're prioritizing building up that pitching staff at the minor league level and acquiring some depth in the system, which they do need. But obviously, we're all waiting for the bigger moves to happen too. Another move that happened was the Red Sox also drafted AAA catcher Mickey Gasper from the New York Yankees. He played in both AA and AAA and has caught for Richard Fitz before, who was one of the moves that the Red Sox made, one of the players they acquired in that Verdugo trade. So the fact that he's familiar with him is a good sign for the Red Sox moving forward if Fitz does eventually get a chance to come up and pitch at the major league level. Gasper batted .246 with an on-base percentage of .361 and a slugging percentage of .375 with 7 home runs and 28 RBIs in 74 games across both leagues this season. He was the only player the Red Sox selected in the minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft, but they also lost several players in the minor league portion. In the second round, they lost 4 players from Single-A Salem, which were right-hander Jose Ramirez to the White Sox, catcher Joan Frank Salazar to the Cardinals, outfielder Alexis Hernandez to the Toronto Blue Jays, and right-hander Raylan Perez to the Houston Astros. And then they lost 1 player in each of these 3 rounds. AA right-hander Ryan Miller went to the Angels in round 2. AAA infielder Ryan Fitzgerald was chosen by the Kansas City Royals in round 3, and the Cincinnati Reds selected high A right-hander Brock Bell in round 4, just 5 spots before the draft ended. So the Red Sox lost quite a few more players than they actually acquired during this. But these players they did acquire hopefully have some upside, and that trade with the Mets could prove to be an important one down the road. So some small moves being made. Obviously, the Verdugo trade was a big move. Hopefully, this means bigger moves to come for the Red Sox to make. So we'll just have to see how these next couple days play out and into next week and what happens then. Don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. You won't be disappointed. You'll feel like you're all caught up in all sports. So subscribe to Locked On Sports Today. And as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.